The small military ship called Harbinger shook violently as it entered the atmosphere of planet Kairos. Lieutenant Han Jun gripped his seat tightly, his knuckles white with tension. Warning lights flashed across the control panel, and the emergency siren blared in his ears. "Engine failure in sectors 3 and 4. The ship's computer announced in a calm voice that seemed out of place amid the chaos. "Hull integrity compromised. Impact with surface imminent." Han tried to stabilize the descent, but the controls barely responded. Through the view screen, he saw the surface of Kairos rushing toward him, a landscape of deep purple forests and rocky outcrops. "Brace for impact," he told himself, knowing no one else could hear him. The rest of the crew had evacuated in escape pods when the ship first took damage from an asteroid field. Han had stayed behind, trying to save the vessel. The Harbinger hit the ground with a deafening crash. Metal tore and systems exploded around Han as the ship carved a deep trench through the alien soil. His safety harness dug into his shoulders, and his head slammed against the headrest. Then everything went black. When Han opened his eyes, smoke filled the cockpit. Pain radiated from his left leg and blood trickled down his forehead. He unbuckled himself and tested his limbs. Nothing seemed broken, but he would have bruises everywhere. "Computer status report," he coughed. No response came. The ship was dead. Han limped through the wreckage, gathering what supplies he could find: a medical kit, some ration packs, a portable shelter, and a dented canteen half full of water. His emergency beacon was damaged, its signal weak. Someone might find him, but it could take weeks. According to the mission briefing, Kairos was uninhabited by intelligent life, but full of dangerous animals. The Coalition had marked it for future exploration, not colonization. No one would look for settlements here. "I need to find a better position," Han said to himself. "Higher ground to boost the signal." As he prepared to leave the crash site, a strange sound caught his attention. A quiet whimpering coming from beneath a broken section of the hull. Han approached cautiously, weapon drawn. Using a metal rod as a lever, he lifted the debris slightly. Two golden eyes stared back at him from the darkness. A small creature, no bigger than a house cat, lay trapped and injured. Its fur was metallic blue, shimmering even in the dim light. Small ridges ran along its spine, and its paws ended in delicate claws. The creature hissed weakly, showing sharp teeth. "Easy there," Han said softly. "I won't hurt you." The survival guide on his wrist computer warned about the wildlife on Kairos. Most species were territorial and aggressive. The smart thing would be to leave the creature alone or put it out of its misery. But something in those golden eyes held Han's attention. There was intelligence there, and fear, but no malice. Slowly, Han reached into his pack and took out the medical scanner. The creature watched him carefully but didn't try to attack. The scan showed a broken leg and dehydration. "You're just a baby, aren't you?" Han whispered. "Where's your mother?" He looked around but saw no sign of adult creatures nearby. The cub must have been separated from its family during the crash. Han knew he should walk away. His own survival needed to be his priority, but he couldn't leave the injured cub to die alone. "This is probably a mistake," he sighed, gently lifting the debris completely. The cub tried to crawl away but collapsed in pain. Han removed his jacket and carefully wrapped it around the small creature, avoiding the injured leg. The cub struggled at first, then went still, watching him with those golden eyes. "You need water," Han said, taking out his canteen. The container had a crack running down one side, leaking precious water. He wouldn't be able to save it. Han ripped a small piece from his undershirt and soaked it in water. He held it near the cub's mouth. After a moment of hesitation, the creature licked the cloth, then sucked at it eagerly. "Slowly," Han cautioned, though he knew the cub couldn't understand him. "You'll make yourself sick." As the sun began to set, Han set up his portable shelter near a rock formation that would protect them from the wind. He used the medical kit to splint the cub's leg, surprised at how cooperative the creature remained. "You need a name," Han said, as he shared his rations with the cub. "How about Taeyang? It means sun in my language, because of your eyes." The cub, Taeyang, tilted its head as if considering the name, then made a soft chirping sound that Han took as approval. Taeyang it is, Han smiled, gently stroking the metallic blue fur. We'll try to find your family tomorrow. Unknown to Han, they were being watched. High in the nearby cliffs, 3 tall figures observed the crashed ship and the human with the cub. Their skin was pale gray and their bodies thin and angular. They wore robes of woven plant fiber dyed in earth tones. The human survived, said the tallest one, Dae-hyun. His voice was low and melodic. And it has found a Nexus cub, replied the female beside him, Jisoo. Her eyes widened with concern. This has never happened before. The third figure, Sunho, gripped his staff tightly. We must kill them both, the human and the cub. We have never encountered humans before, Dae-hyun said. We should observe first. The prophecy is clear, Sunho insisted. Every 300 years a Nexus beast is born. If it lives, destruction follows. Jisoo leaned forward, studying the human as he tended to the cub's injuries. But look, the human cares for it. This is unexpected. It changes nothing, Sunho growled. The cub must die before it grows stronger. Dae-hyun raised his hand for silence. We will watch for now. The council must be informed before we act. As darkness fell over the planet, Han fell asleep with the small cub curled against his side for warmth. He dreamed of golden eyes and distant stars, unaware that the fate of his small companion had been debated for centuries. And as they slept, the cub's body began to change ever so slightly, its injuries healing faster than normal, its bond with the human growing stronger with each passing hour. In the morning, Han would discover that sharing his water, food, and compassion with this small creature had set in motion events that would change not just their lives, but the destiny of an entire world. For now, though, human and cub slept peacefully under alien stars, while the Moire watched and waited. 7 days had passed since the crash. Han sat outside his improved shelter, watching as Taeyang chased small flying insects across the clearing. The cub had healed with surprising speed. Its broken leg now showed no sign of injury, and it had already grown noticeably larger. You should still be limping, Han said with amazement. What kind of creature are you? Taeyang stopped playing and looked at Han, those golden eyes seeming to understand the question. The cub trotted over and pressed its head against Han's hand. This had become their ritual, a simple touch that somehow felt like communication. Han had tried twice to leave Taeyang in the wild. Each time the cub had followed him back to camp, refusing to return to the forest. After the second attempt, Han gave up. They were companions now, for better or worse. The emergency beacon continued to send its weak signal, but Han had no way of knowing if anyone heard it. His supplies would last another month if he was careful. The planet offered some edible fruits and small animals that tasted like fish. Taeyang hunted these creatures with growing skill, often bringing extras back to share. That night, as they sat by the fire, Han noticed something strange. Whenever he looked at the flames, he saw double images, the fire before him, but also a view of himself from a lower angle. He rubbed his eyes, but the double vision continued. That's odd, he muttered. Taeyang tilted its head and made a soft purring sound. The cub's eyes reflected the firelight, turning them from gold to deep orange. When Han finally fell asleep, his dreams were vivid and strange. He ran through forests he had never seen, smelling scents too complex for human senses. He felt powerful and free, hunting prey with perfect instinct. When he woke with a start, Taeyang was watching him, sitting closer than usual. Was I dreaming about being you? Han asked, confused. Or were you showing me something? Taeyang made no sound, but its tail swished back and forth with excitement. After breakfast, Han decided to explore farther from camp. With Taeyang at his side, he climbed a tall hill to survey the landscape. From this height, he could see the path his ship had carved through the forest during the crash. In the distance, mountains rose against the horizon, their peaks wrapped in clouds. Beautiful planet, Han said. Dangerous but beautiful. As he turned to head back down, Han froze. 3 tall figures stood silently at the bottom of the hill, blocking his path to camp. They were unlike any aliens he had encountered in his years of space travel. Their bodies were thin and angular, with gray skin and large almond-shaped eyes. They wore simple robes tied with woven belts, and their long fingers gripped wooden staffs. Taiyang growled, its body tense beside Han. The metallic blue fur along its spine stood up, making the cub look twice its size. Easy, Han whispered, placing a calming hand on Taiyang. He turned to face the aliens and raised his empty hands to show he carried no weapons. Hello, my name is Han Jun. I mean no harm. The tallest alien stepped forward. We know who you are, human Han Jun. We have watched you since your ship fell from the sky. Its voice was deep and musical, speaking perfect standard language. You speak my language, Han said, surprised. How? We have studied your kind from afar. We are the Moire. This is our world, which you call Kairos. Han bowed slightly. I apologize for intruding. My ship crashed. I'm waiting for rescue. The female Moire moved closer, her eyes fixed not on Han, but on Taiyang. You care for this creature. Why? It was injured. I helped it heal. The third, Moire tapped his staff against the ground. You do not understand what you have done, human. That is not a common animal. It is a Nexus beast. Han looked down at Taiyang, who pressed against his leg protectively. I don't understand. What's a Nexus beast? The lead Moire, who introduced himself as Dae-hyun, explained. Walk with us to your camp. We have much to discuss. As they walked, Dae-hyun spoke of the Nexus beasts, rare creatures born once every 3 centuries on Kairos. According to ancient Moire prophecy, each Nexus beast grew to become either a savior or destroyer of worlds. For thousands of years, the Moire had found and eliminated each cub before it reached maturity, believing the risk too great. The future it brings is always terrible, said the third Moire, who Han learned was named Sunho. His voice was harsh and angry. We have records of the destruction caused when a Nexus beast was allowed to live. Entire continents burned. They reached Han's camp, where Dae-hyun continued the story. The Nexus beasts grew quickly, developed strange powers, and formed deep connections with the world around them. In the past, they had shown abilities to control weather, move objects with their minds, and even predict the future. The creature you call Taiyang must be destroyed, Sunho said firmly. For the safety of all. Han stood up, his body between Sunho and the cub. No, I won't let you hurt Taiyang. You have no choice, human, Sunho replied. Your ship is broken. You are alone on our world. The female Moire, who had remained quiet until now, stepped forward. Wait, she said. I am Jisoo, a scientist among my people. This situation is unprecedented. No Nexus beast has ever bonded with another species before. She studied Taiyang with curious eyes. Has anything unusual happened between you and the cub? Han hesitated, then described his strange dreams and the moments when he seemed to see through Taiyang's eyes. Jisoo nodded, clearly fascinated. It has formed a psychic bond with you, she said. This has never been recorded in our history. Dae-hyun frowned. What does this mean, Jisoo? It means we face something new, she replied. Perhaps the prophecy is not absolute. Perhaps the human's influence changes the equation. Sunho shook his head angrily. This changes nothing. The beast must die. No, Dae-hyun said after a long pause. Jisoo is right. We must study this development before acting. What if killing the beast is what causes the disaster? What if our interference is part of the prophecy? He turned to Han. We will allow you to keep the Nexus beast for now, but we will watch you closely. You bear a great responsibility, Han Jun. If the creature shows signs of dangerous development, we will act immediately. That night, after the Moire had left, Han sat with Taiyang under the stars. The cub had grown even more since morning, now the size of a large dog. Its golden eyes seemed deeper, more aware. "They're afraid of you," Han said quietly. "Of what you might become." Taeyang looked up at him with those intelligent eyes. "I don't believe you'll destroy worlds," Han continued, stroking the metallic blue fur. "But I think you might be capable of it someday. The question is, what will you choose to be?" As if in answer, Taeyang placed a paw on Han's hand. In that moment, Han felt a rush of emotions that were not his own: gratitude, trust, and something like a promise. Unknown to both of them, distant in space, a coalition rescue ship had finally detected the weak signal from Han's emergency beacon. Help was coming, and with it complications neither Han nor the Moere had foreseen. 3 months had passed since the crash. Han sat outside his permanent shelter, which had grown from a simple emergency tent into a comfortable cabin built with help from the Moere. Beside him, Taeyang lounged in the warm sunlight, now the size of a large tiger. The metallic blue fur had developed intricate patterns that seemed to shift with the cub's moods, and the golden eyes had deepened to a rich amber. "You're not really a cub anymore," Han said, scratching behind Taeyang's ears. "But I still think of you that way." Taeyang rumbled with pleasure, a sound between a purr and a growl. Through their strengthened bond, Han felt waves of contentment flowing from the creature. Their connection had grown powerful over the months. They could now share not just images and emotions, but complex ideas. Han had learned that Nexus beasts absorbed traits from their surroundings, particularly from those they bonded with. From Han, Taeyang had developed human traits: empathy, curiosity, and strategic thinking. Jisoo visited often, studying their bond with scientific interest. She had become a friend to Han, teaching him about the Moray culture and history. Today, she approached the cabin carrying her usual notebook and recording devices. "Good morning, Han," she said with a small bow. "How is Taeyang today?" "Growing stronger," Han replied. "Yesterday, he moved a stone with his mind. Not a small one either." Jisoo's eyes widened. "Telekinesis already? That is earlier than our records predicted." She sat across from Han and took notes as he described Taeyang's new abilities. The creature watched them with intelligent eyes, occasionally sending images to Han, memories of practicing with smaller objects when Han wasn't watching. "He's been hiding some of his development from me," Han said with a laugh. "Apparently he can also sense things before they happen. About 10 seconds of warning." Jisoo nodded. "Precognition, the records mentioned this ability." She hesitated, then added, "Sunho and the traditionalists are growing more concerned. They believe these abilities developing so quickly is a bad sign." Han sighed. "What do you think, Jisoo?" "I think this is different from anything in our history," she replied honestly. Previous Nexus beasts grew in isolation or were hunted. They never had friendship. She looked at Taeyang with wonder. "I believe that makes all the difference." Taeyang suddenly stood up, his body tense. He turned toward the sky, a low growl building in his throat. "What is it?" Han asked, both aloud and through their bond. A series of images flashed in Han's mind: metal birds falling from the sky, fire, and strange machines rising from the ground. "Something's coming," Han said to Jisoo. "Taeyang sees danger." Before Jisoo could respond, a distant roar filled the air. They looked up to see fiery streaks cutting across the sky, ships entering the atmosphere. Coalition ships. "My rescue," Han said with mixed emotions. Part of him had stopped expecting it, had begun to think of Kairos as home. Jisoo grabbed Han's arm. "This is bad timing. The Council needs to be warned. The Coalition must not land near the sacred sites." But it was too late. As the ships descended, the ground began to tremble. In the distance, the mountains that Han had seen from the hilltop months ago started to glow with strange blue lights. Ancient structures, previously hidden beneath soil and vegetation, rose from the earth. "What's happening?" Han asked, steadying himself against a tree. "The defense systems," Jisoo whispered, her face pale. "From the world before ours. They have awakened." Beams of energy shot from the newly revealed structures targeting the coalition ships. Two smaller vessels exploded while the larger transport took evasive action. More beams swept across the land, striking Moray settlements in the distance. "No," Jisoo cried. "My village is there." Han didn't hesitate. "Let's go. Taeyang, come." The three raced toward the village, Taeyang easily keeping pace despite his size. As they ran, Jisoo explained that ancient defense systems had been built by a civilization that existed before the Moray. These weapons would attack any advanced technology that entered the atmosphere. "Our people have always lived simply to avoid triggering them," she said between breaths. "We warned the council this might happen if outsiders came." When they reached the village, parts of it were already burning. Moray were rushing to put out fires and tend to the wounded. Han joined the effort immediately, using his military medical training to help. Han Jun. The cold voice made Han turn. Sun Ho stood there surrounded by armed Moray. Their weapons, simple spears and bows, were pointed at Taeyang. "Your people have awakened the ancient death machines," Sun Ho said, "and your beast has led you here to the heart of our home. The prophecy begins." Han stepped in front of Taeyang. "This isn't what you think." Taeyang wanted to help. "We both did." "Stand aside, human," Sun Ho demanded. "The council has decided. The Nexus beast must die before it grows stronger." Jisoo pushed through the crowd. "Sun Ho, you cannot do this. The beast has shown no signs of aggression. It came to help us." "The beast tricked you both," Sun Ho replied. "It knew the weapons would activate when human ships arrived. It wants destruction." Through their bond, Han felt Taeyang's confusion and hurt. The creature understood the accusations and felt betrayed. "This is wrong," Han insisted. "Taeyang has been nothing but gentle. He's not what you fear." Sun Ho raised his hand. "Enough talk. Take the human, kill the beast." The armed Moray advanced. Taeyang growled, the patterns on his fur glowing brighter. Han prepared to fight, knowing they were outnumbered. Suddenly the ground shook again. Everyone froze as a new sound filled the air, the whine of engines. A coalition shuttle descended into the village center, somehow untouched by the defense weapons. The door opened and armed soldiers poured out, weapons ready. "Lieutenant Han Jun?" called their leader. "I'm Commander Minsu of the coalition. Rescue team, we've been searching for you." Han wanted to answer, but chaos erupted. Some of Sun Ho's followers attacked, thinking the soldiers were a threat. The coalition troops returned fire. In the confusion, Sun Ho seized his chance and threw a spear directly at Taeyang. Han didn't think. He jumped between the spear and Taeyang. The weapon struck his shoulder, sending him crashing to the ground. "Han!" Jisoo screamed, rushing to his side. Pain clouded Han's vision. He heard Taeyang roar, a sound filled with rage and grief. Through their dimming bond, he felt something new from the creature. Not just anger, but protective fury. "Don't," Han whispered. "Don't hurt them, Taeyang." The last thing Han saw before losing consciousness was Taeyang standing over him, the creature's body changing, growing larger, the patterns on its fur brightening to an almost blinding intensity. Around them, both Moray and coalition soldiers backed away in fear. In that moment, everyone saw what they had feared, a Nexus beast in its power. But only Han, through their fading bond, understood that this transformation came not from hatred, but from love. Taeyang wasn't becoming a destroyer. He was becoming a protector. As darkness took him, Han heard Coalition Commander Minsu's voice, filled with awe and fear. "What in the universe is that thing?" And Jisoo's answer, "The future of our world, shaped by one human's kindness." Han opened his eyes to unfamiliar surroundings. He lay on a soft bed in a small room with stone walls. Sunlight streamed through an open window, carrying the scent of strange flowers. His shoulder throbbed with dull pain where Sun Ho's spear had struck him. "You're awake," said a voice. Jisoo sat beside his bed, her expression tired but relieved. She placed a cool cloth on his forehead. "How long was I out?" Han asked, his mouth dry. 3 days, she replied. The coalition doctors treated your wound, but you lost much blood. The events before his blackout came rushing back. Han tried to sit up. Taiyang? Where is he? Jisoo gently pushed him back down. Rest. Your friend is safe, but changed. Changed? How? Jisoo hesitated. It would be easier to show you when you're stronger. But Han refused to wait. With Jisoo's reluctant help, he dressed and made his way outside. The village had been repaired, showing few signs of the attack. Coalition soldiers and Moray worked side by side. An unexpected sight. A temporary peace, Jisoo explained as they walked. Much has happened while you slept. She led him to the village center where Commander Minsu stood with Dae-hyun, deep in discussion. They both turned as Han approached. Lieutenant, Minsu said with a nod. Good to see you on your feet. Your pet caused quite a stir. Han frowned. Taiyang isn't a pet, where is he? Dae-hyun pointed toward the mountains. The Nexus beast guards the ancient defense hub. It will allow no one near except Jisoo, who brings it food. He, Han corrected. Not it. And his name is Taiyang. Minsu studied Han with curious eyes. The creature saved your life. After you were hit, it created some kind of energy shield around you. Wouldn't let anyone touch you until our doctor convinced it she could help. The transformation was remarkable, Jisoo added. Like nothing in our historical records. Han felt the familiar tug of his bond with Taiyang, but it felt different, stronger yet more distant, like a whisper from far away. Through it he sensed not thoughts or images, but pure emotion, longing, concern, purpose. I need to see him, Han said. The journey to the mountains took several hours. Minsu insisted on coming along with 2 soldiers. Jisoo and Dae-hyun represented the Moray. They told Han what had happened during his unconsciousness. The ancient defense systems had damaged 3 coalition ships before focusing on Moray settlements. Meanwhile, Sunho had used the chaos to rally supporters, claiming the prophecy was coming true, that the Nexus beast had triggered the catastrophe. When you fell, Dae-hyun explained, the beast, Taiyang, underwent an immediate metamorphosis. It grew larger, developed luminescent patterns across its body, and displayed abilities beyond anything in our records. Instead of fleeing or attacking, Jisoo continued, it created energy barriers that protected both Moray and coalition forces from the defense weapons. Then it moved toward the mountains, disabling defense platforms as it went. Minsu nodded. My team followed it to the central defense hub, an underground facility built by whoever lived here before the Moray. The creature stands guard there now, preventing anyone from entering. What about Sunho? Han asked. Dae-hyun's expression darkened. He and his followers retreated to the eastern valleys. They are gathering weapons and supporters. As they climbed, higher into the mountains, Han felt the bond with Taeyang growing stronger. Near the summit, they entered a clearing where an enormous structure rose from the earth, a dome of black metal covered with intricate symbols. Before it stood a creature Han barely recognized. Taeyang had grown to 3 times his previous size. His metallic blue fur now rippled with patterns of glowing energy that pulsed like heartbeats. The ridge along his spine had developed into majestic, crest-like structures. His golden eyes had multiplied. He now had 3 on each side of his face, each glowing with inner light. But despite these changes, when Taeyang saw Han, his reaction was pure joy. The massive creature bounded forward, then stopped short, seemingly aware of his new size and power. Instead, he lowered his head to Han's level, those golden eyes blinking in sequence. Hello, old friend, Han said softly, reaching out to touch the familiar spot behind Taeyang's ears. The moment they touched, Han's mind flooded with images, the defense systems activating, Taeyang's desperate rush to protect him, the discovery of the ancient facility, and a growing awareness of its purpose. Taeyang had been drawn here by instinct but stayed by choice, keeping others away because he sensed danger within. He's protecting us, Han said, turning to the others. The facility contains something dangerous. Jisoo stepped forward, her scientific curiosity evident. We found ancient records during your recovery. They suggest the Nexus beasts were created by Kairos' original inhabitants as guardians. Each beast adapts based on its earliest experiences. Previous. Cubs became destructive because they were isolated or threatened. Daehyun added. You changed that pattern with your compassion. Min-soo looked skeptical. That's a nice theory, but we have orders. The coalition wants access to this facility. The technology inside could be valuable. Or deadly, Han argued. Taeyang is trying to tell me something about it. Before they could discuss further, a new sound echoed through the mountains. War, horns. From their position, they could see a large group approaching from the east. Sunho led them, carrying weapons that glowed with strange energy. They've found ancient weapons, Daehyun said grimly. Sunho must have located another facility. Min-soo spoke into his communicator, calling for backup. We need to secure this position. Han felt Taeyang's anxiety through their bond. The creature was torn between guarding the facility and protecting. Han from the approaching threat. They're coming for you, Han said to Taeyang. Sunho won't stop. Taeyang's response came as a series of images. The inside of the facility, strange machines, and a central platform that seemed designed for a creature of Taeyang's size. He wants to show me something inside, Han told the others. I think he knows how to stop the defense systems. Min-soo shook his head. Too risky. We secure this position first, then investigate. But Han knew there wasn't time. Sunho's forces would arrive soon, and the coalition soldiers might not distinguish between enemy and ally in the chaos. Through their bond, Han felt Taeyang's urgency. Trust me, Han said to Min-soo and Daehyun. No one needs to die today. Jisoo stepped forward. I'll go with Han. My knowledge of the ancient records might help. After a moment of hesitation, Daehyun nodded. Go. We will hold Sunho as long as we can. As Sunho's followers appeared at the edge of the clearing, Han and Jisoo followed Taeyang into the dark entrance of the facility. The massive doors closed behind them, sealing them inside. The interior glowed with soft blue light, illuminating a vast chamber filled with technology, beyond Han's understanding. At the center stood a circular platform, surrounded by control panels covered in symbols similar to those on Taeyang's fur. This place was built for creatures like him, Jisoo whispered in awe. The patterns on his body, they're a language. Taeyang moved to the central platform and looked back at Han, sending him a clear message through their bond. A request, not a command. He needs me there with him, Han realized. Our bond is the key. Outside, they could hear the sounds of conflict, beginning. Whatever they were going to do, they needed to do it quickly. Are you sure? Jisoo asked, her voice tense with worry. Han looked at Taeyang, remembering the small injured cub he had once fed from a broken canteen. Despite his transformation, those golden eyes held the same trust they always had. Yes, Han said simply. I'm sure. As he stepped onto the platform beside Taeyang, the facility hummed to life around them. Light surged through the chamber, and Han felt the bond between them opening wider than ever before. In that moment, they stood at a crossroads that would determine the fate of Kairos and perhaps worlds beyond. The moment Han stepped onto the platform beside Taeyang, the world around them changed. The facility's walls seemed to disappear, replaced by streams of light and information. Han felt his consciousness expand, merging with Taeyang's in a way that went beyond their previous bond. Jisoo watched in amazement as both Han and Taeyang began to glow with the same blue energy that flowed through the facility. It's working, she whispered. In this merged state, Han could finally understand the full truth. The ancient civilization that had once lived on Kairos had not died out. They had evolved beyond physical form. Before leaving, they created the Nexus beasts as living keys to their technology. Each beast was designed to bond with the native species of the planet, ensuring only those with the right values could access their power. The defense systems had activated because they sensed a threat, not from the coalition ships themselves, but from the potential for exploitation. The weapons, the technology, the knowledge left behind, all of it was meant to protect and nurture life. not to destroy or conquer. Through Taiyang, Han could now access the control systems. He deactivated the defense weapons with a thought, feeling them power down across the planet. But there was more. The facility contained the entire history and knowledge of the ancient civilization, medical technologies that could heal any wound, energy sources that required no fuel, and methods of growing food in any environment. Han, Jisoo called, her voice seeming distant. Outside, they're fighting. Han focused his awareness outward. Through the facility's sensors, he could see the battle at the entrance. Sun Ho and his followers clashed with coalition soldiers and loyal Moray. Commander Minsu had been wounded and Daehyun stood protectively over him. "We need to stop this," Han said, his voice echoing strangely. Taeyang responded with a surge of energy. Together, they activated a new system. The ground around the facility glowed, and waves of blue light spread outward. Weapons on both sides powered down. The fighting stopped as everyone turned to look at the facility. The massive doors opened. Han and Taeyang walked out side by side, still connected by visible streams of energy. Taeyang had changed again, growing even larger, his form now seeming partly physical and partly energy. The patterns on his body had become more complex, resembling the strange symbols throughout the facility. "Enough," Han said, his voice carrying across the clearing. "There will be no more fighting today." Sun Ho pushed forward, his face twisted, with anger and fear. "See? The human controls the beast now. Together they will rule us all." "No," Han replied calmly. "Neither of us seeks to rule. We came to understand, and now we do." Han explained what they had learned about the ancient civilization, the purpose of the Nexus beasts, and the true meaning of the prophecy. It had been misunderstood over generations. The Nexus beasts were never meant to destroy or save the Yao world on their own. They were meant to help the people of Kairos decide their own fate by giving them access to knowledge when they were ready for it. Previous Nexus beasts became destructive because they were feared and hunted, Han said. They responded to violence with violence, to fear with fear. Taeyang is different because he experienced compassion first. Jisoo stepped forward. "The ancient records support this. We never understood the full context until now." Commander Minsu, leaning on Daehyun for support, studied Taeyang with cautious respect. "What happens now? The coalition will want this technology. And they can have some of it," Han replied. "But not as conquerors, as partners. The knowledge here belongs to the Moray first. It's their world." Sun Ho laughed bitterly. "And we should trust you? A human and a beast holding all this power?" Han smiled. "We won't be holding it for long." He turned to Taeyang and they shared a silent communication. The great creature nodded and moved to the center of the clearing. His body began to pulse with light, growing brighter until everyone had to shield their eyes. When the light faded, Taeyang had changed again. He was smaller now, closer to his original size, though still much larger than when Han had first found him. The glowing patterns remained on his fur, but dimmer. The multiple eyes had reduced to the original two golden ones. "What happened?" Daehyun asked. "He shared the access," Han explained. "Instead of being the only key, he has created many." He pointed to the ground at their feet. Small crystals had formed in a circle around Taeyang, each glowing with the same blue energy. There were dozens of them, enough for both Mori and Coalition. "These will allow limited access to the knowledge and technology," Han said. "No single person or group can control it all. You'll have to work together." Minsu picked up one of the crystals, examining it with interest. "The Coalition Council won't be happy about sharing." "They'll adapt," Han said with a smile. "Or they can leave Kairos entirely. That's the choice." In the days that followed, a new era began. The Moray formed a committee to study the ancient knowledge with Jisoo as its leader. The coalition established a diplomatic outpost rather than a military base, with Commander Minsu choosing to stay as ambassador. Sun Ho and most of his followers eventually accepted the new reality, especially as the benefits of the ancient technology became clear. Crops grew stronger, illnesses were cured, and the harsh seasons became easier to endure. 1 month after the events at the facility, Han stood at the repaired landing pad, watching a coalition transport descend from orbit. "Your ride home," Minsu said, joining him. "Still sure you want to stay?" Han nodded. "Kairos is my home now. Besides, someone needs to represent human interests here, and someone needs to help explain Taiyang to your scientists." The great creature lay nearby, watching the ship land with curious eyes. Through their bond, which remained strong even after the events at the facility, Han felt Taiyang's contentment. Jisoo approached, carrying a newly created crystal pendant. "The council wants you to have this. It marks you as an official friend of the Mori." Han accepted it with a bow. "Thank you for everything." As the transport landed and its ramp extended, a young officer hurried down with urgent news. He saluted Minsu and Han. "Commanders, we've received word from the coalition. Scoutship Horizon. They've discovered another planet with signs of ancient technology, and a creature matching Taiyang's original description." Han and Taiyang exchanged a glance. Through their bond flowed understanding and purpose. "Another Nexus cub," Han said softly. "The council will want to send observers," Jisoo noted, "to ensure it's treated properly." Minsu looked at Han. "The coalition will want your expertise as well." Han placed his hand on Taiyang's head, feeling the warm fur and the steady presence of his friend's mind. "What do you think? Ready for another adventure?" Taiyang's response came as a feeling of excitement and determination. They had changed the course of one world by simple kindness. Perhaps they could do the same for another. Dae-hyun, who had joined them, smiled at the sight of human and Nexus beasts standing together. "Our oldest prophecy said that each Nexus beast would shape the future of our world. I don't think anyone imagined it would happen this way." "The future is never what we expect," Han replied, watching the setting sun paint the sky in gold, the same gold as Taiyang's eyes when they first met. "It's what we make together." As stars appeared in the darkening sky, Han remembered the broken canteen, the injured cub, and the simple act of kindness that had changed everything. Sometimes the greatest journeys began with the smallest steps. Sometimes the mightiest allies came from the most humble beginnings. And sometimes the thing everyone feared most was exactly what they needed most. The end.